Hey guys, another double-round week is on the books. Let's see the agenda for today.
Yes, and we're gonna talk about the credit bank from the double round week, our team results, the selection for coach of the week for the coming round 23, our team trades, and the team formation for round 23. So, firstly, let's talk about the credit bank and which players have been increased their value during this double round week. You can see here a lot of Partizan. So Zelimir Obradovic is the coach that increased mostly the value from this double round week with these 2 wins, 0.8 credits increase. And of course, Jones and Sterling Brown have been playing very well in this double round week. Brown has scored 56 fantasy points during these 2 rounds, increased by 1.3 his value, and Jones by 1.5 with 67.1. I think Jones, we can fairly say that we like him and we continue. He has the ability to build on and keep increasing his value and having good games. Sterling Brown, he's been on a great stretch, I think 4 games with amazing results. He's been consistent in the minutes he gets the whole year. He's been scoring a lot the whole year. He wasn't though producing the fantasy points all year around, so we keep an eye. For now, as you've seen, also we had him in our team. We keep him, but he's someone that we need to keep an eye that he keeps consistent, and he seems he's in a very good period right now. And finally, on the tops, we have Luaka Barrow, increased by 1.4, a great double round week, but potentially we wouldn't select him, although his credits is quite low, 8.1. So potentially, if you are, looking for a forward, around 8 credits, someone you could consider. But yes, as I said, potentially we'll look at other choices. Then in terms of other players that did quite well that we have not included here, I think mainly for me is Petrusev, that he scored 52.2 fantasy points and increased by 1.1 his credits. And then Jokubaitis is also worth mentioning, that increased by 0.9 his credit value, and he scored 49 fantasy points with shooting 13 out of 19 in this double round week. Then on the other side, we have none, and I think if you manage to not have him the last 2 rounds, you must feel very lucky, because he had awful games in terms of scoring 5 out of 22 shots. So he reduced by 1.5. That means, although his credit is still quite high with 15.5, potentially now is really more, desirable. So perhaps what we are looking here is to see signs of recovery, and then is a great point to pick him up, as probably he's gonna get back to his usual rhythm and keep putting on more value. And then there were a lot of players actually losing 0.8 credits. I think highlights mainly is Mannion, from the players who had more playing time, Mannion and Williams from Maccabi. For both, I think we would avoid them going forwards. And finally, Coach Ataman, double round week where he lost quite a lot of value. So he's dropped now to 8.4 with a reduction of 0.9. And this is extremely attractive right now. Quite cheap for the champs to have 8.4 for coach. So we will be looking at that. So with that, let's move then to see how our teams did this double round week.
Yeah, and you see in round 21, we got 171.90 fantasy points, and we gained 1.3 credits. It's worth mentioning the 47.3 Points we got from Campazzo, 25 from Coach Messina, and the 46.2 from Mirotic as captain. We didn't get exactly what we wanted from Bolomboy and Maledon. Both they brought 14 fantasy points. So imagine less, 4 points less than Tamir Blatt. And in round 22, we got even less points, but we gained 1.4 credits, so 0.1 credits more. This is the highlight for us for this double round week. The credits we gained. The fantasy points we got 165.2, mainly because of Sterling Brown with 35.2 and Petrusev also with the same fantasy points. But then Boloboy gave us 18.7, which showed that he recovered from the bad game he got in round 21. But then Mirotic only 24 fantasy points as a captain. It was a big risk for us to change captain for turn 2 because we had Petrusev and Bolomboy, but we didn't know what to expect. Both are quality players, but as you see, Bolomboy in round 21 he just had 1 fantasy point, and Petrusev, you expect him to have more than 15 fantasy points, but we didn't want to risk it after all. But if you see also Campazzo with only 11 fantasy points, he didn't have a good game, and Coach Poupe gave us 10 points after winning in overtime. But you see, we didn't get, if you see the details, for example, Blatt gave us only 3.5 as half, that means 7 fantasy points, and Ndiaye only 0 as the second center. From Kalaitzakis, we got 5, which is good because he's a filler for the team. But as you will see later on, that made us to think about the changes. The players we will keep, the players which we will send out. Also keeping in mind that now we have unlimited trades for this round, round 3. But before,
and I wanted to mention the coaches, right? So 25 points from Messina with very, very low credits. And I think what turns out to be very stressful, as you said, with overtime, but probably a best seat, just 4 credits and you have 10 points from there. So very happy with the coaches. Just a little bit off with on the round 21 Bolomboy, Maledon, and on the round 22 with Campazzo, and Blatt, but you can't have everything. So all in all, I think quite good, as you said.
Yep. So we'll see the trades later on. But now let's see the coach of the week.
Yeah, that is no other than Ataman. So he's playing versus Zalgiris at home. As we said, he's coming back from a difficult double round week with losses, and also Panathinaikos is playing Olympiacos, the big derby for the Greek league this Monday. So potentially they could coming back after, from 3 losses. We don't know, but in any case, we think probably that the result of the Greek derby will be relevant, and we believe that 8.4 credit is quite low, and the game versus Zalgiris is a good game to bounce back. The champs, they have the quality to put this off, and I think we're probably looking more than 10 points coming back at fantasy points from Ataman. Do you want to add anything, Konstantinos, on that?
The only thing that I wanted to add is you might see also other choices and selections for this for round 23. For example, you might see Coach Herbert appealing versus Alba. That's also the German derby, let's say, for example. So also Coach Banki, FS is playing versus Olimpia Milano with less credits to spend for a coach. However, as Bill mentioned, we believe what Coach Ataman can bring back to the team, it's 15 fantasy points. So more than 10, starting from 15 fantasy points or more. Žalgiris is a good team, very good defensive team. But we also believe, after the 2 losses in Euroleague, also the Greek derby, you don't know the outcome, what will be, but it might be a game that Panathinaikos will go on the court just, to play their usual rhythm, and also expect, an explosion from Kendrick Nunn after the 2 bad games in Euroleague.
Exactly, I think that sums it up. So let's then move on and see what we've done with our team.
Here you see the trades we made. You will see later on the formation. Again, unlimited trades. You might see some more players out and in the next slide in the formation. But these are the main changes we made. We traded out Mirotic. We're not crazy. There were some rumors today that Mirotic had some muscle discomfort in the game for the Italian league. So we don't know the status yet of Nikola Mirotic. Also, Zach Ledé was injured. Coach Messina said that's a different and more severe injury potentially, but we didn't want to risk it to the last minute, so we thought about trading out Nikola Mirotic. Then also Campazzo, he did not have a good game versus Olympiacos. That doesn't mean that he will not have a good game versus Baskonia, but we had to make some sacrifices, let's say, in order to build the team as we wanted for the next round. Also, Tamir Blatt, we traded him out. He has a tough game versus Crvena Zvezda, so despite his quality as a player, we didn't want to risk it in this case. And lastly, for the coach, we thank Coach Poupé for the 10 fantasy points, but now he has a tough game, and as you see, we went with Coach Ataman. We spent a bit more. That's why I said earlier we made some sacrifices in the trades. So we spent 4.2 more credits to bring Coach Ataman to the team, and then Tyreek Jones had what a double-round week. Amazing games. I think he missed only one shot, if I'm not mistaken, in both games. So he was a must to come to join Bolomboy. Then Maledon, we traded him in the last round, but now it's time to come back. The French sensation, I will call him, in this EuroLeague this year. Amazing player, amazing talent, bright future ahead of him. And then also we brought Musa. Musa had only 12 fantasy points versus Olympiacos, but in the last games in EuroLeague and also in ACB, he's very consistent. He keeps up the scoring. He gives points to Real Madrid. He has created a great combination in the forward with Mario Hezonja in Real Madrid. So we couldn't get Mario Hezonja, but instead we brought Musa, and we believe that these additions will give us the boost that we want, to have more fantasy points compared to round 21 and round 22.
Musa had, I think, 29 points earlier this month when they played in ACB versus Baskonia. So hopefully he will explode again. We don't know. It's, as you said, potentially slightly risky. Just to mention here in terms of Jones, we swapped him for we swapped NDIF from Real out to bring Jones. So actually that's why we didn't put that in, because it's low value. And so let's see then how our team is now formatted for the next round. So remember, this is actually a 3 turns, as you can see here, round. So that means the first game is on Wednesday. So make sure you have prepared your team and saved everything before the cutoff on Wednesday. And that means you have also the ability to have 3 different choices for captains. So with that in mind, we start turn 1 with Partizan and Jones at the center position as our captain, and Brown remains our guard. And then on the second round, we have Bolomboy at center, Musa and Petrusev at forward, and Tonut and Kalaitzakis, as the 6 players. So we see if we need to bring anyone in. And then on turn 2, if Jones doesn't do well, most probably we will go for Petrusev or Bolomboy as our captain. And finally, on turn 3, we have the big guns, the Zenkov and Maledon are coming in, and potentially both captain material, but we hope by that time we won't need to even consider them as captains, just bring them in the starting lineup. And coach Ataman. So we feel this is a very stacked team, and if things go well, potentially we're gonna have a good week, but you never know. For what you see here, we spent all our credits, the 122.5 credits, but as I said, we have an expensive option for codes. So next week perhaps we can save some money from codes if we need to reevaluate our positions in the main team. But yeah, any comments from you?
I just wanted to point out what I said earlier. Now you see, as Bill mentioned, this is a very loaded team. That's the importance of around 21 and around 22. We didn't get more than 172 fantasy points. However, we gained in credits. That was the key in order to help us build this team for round 23. Because, for example, if you think about it, let's say Maledon instead of Tonut put Maledon, that means that we have one, let's say, of the main players as 7. So one of the key players will be always on the bench, not Vazenkov, but for example, it can be Musa, or it can be Sterling Brown or Bolomboy, depending the player who had the worst game. But this is the importance in fantasy. That's why you need to select players that it might give you some credits back. So when you build team, then you have something in the bank, and then you spend it for coach more or for players, depending your preference.
Very correct. So that was the episode for round 23. I hope you guys like it. So if you did, give us a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. And you can also follow us, of course, into X, when we usually post last minute changes if we do on our team. Until then, have a great week and enjoy fantasy and EuroLeague.
Yeah, guys, don't forget, post your questions, your teams, your remarks, and enjoy EuroLeague and round 23. See you soon.